Welcome to the Gold Standard here on the 440 Sports Network, brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. That is Emma Lingan. I am Braden Gall. Merely Braden Gall. Emma, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm well. How are you doing? I know you were a little busy before this. We had a workout, a little active morning.
It's not like the first time in 2026 that I worked out, Emma. It's not.
No, but you seemed flustered. I'm just making sure you're good.
I do. My face feels a little warm. So if you're watching us on YouTube, please thumbs up, notifications turned on, and you can comment there. Brad already in the comments. Hello there, he says. Be more constructive with your feedback. And yes, I do have a little bit of a red face, I feel like. If you're watching on Twitter or Facebook, please share the show as well. If you want to get in, I'm hoping that all the great, awesome, and amazing loyal listeners decide to show up and hang out in the comment section, because we are talking about a positive stretch of hockey, a positive run of form for the Nashville Predators after a win in overtime. Super dramatic and fun hockey game against the Edmonton Oilers. Roman Josi coming up big again, back-to-back games for the captain. They are now 2 games, Emma Lingan, over 500 for the first time since the first week of the regular season. They have not figured out how to just get above really just 500, but that happened last night on Tuesday evening at Bridgestone Arena for the first time since they were 2-0-1 to start the regular season. Before we do any of that today, we're going to get into all this good stuff, all the trade deadline, sustainability, the underlying metrics, the way that they're playing, what this means for the team. A lot of the conversation we're going to have today, of course. And if you guys have questions or directions you want to take the show, please, by all means, we want to give you ownership and agency over the conversation. So please jump into the comment section and share the show. If you are, if you see it on Twitter, Emma, just hit that retweet button and share that show with everybody. Everybody else listening, hit that retweet button. All right. Thank you. Sinkers Beverages, everybody. 5-time liquor store of the year. And I am still conducting mostly dry January with the help of a liquor store, which, yes, I agree, does sound ironic. But it is true. I am still mostly dry. I had to have a drink Saturday night when the Packers pooped on themselves again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you weren't the only one who had to break dry January for that one.
I had a glass of whiskey that night.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe slightly dry-ish January. Damp January.
Moist January. I don't think Emma wants to hear the word moist on the show too often.
I don't know why that was directed at me, but
every woman I've ever met in my entire life thinks the word moist is just disgusting as a word in general.
I don't think that's a woman-specific thing. I think most people think that word is gross.
It doesn't faze me at all. But
Take your gender bias elsewhere, Braden.
I've never said the word.
Thinks it's gross.
I've never said the word to men and men being like, ooh, don't say that. But like every woman I've ever worked with is like, oh, come on, let's not say the word moist. I'm like, why? There's so many different forms of the word.
Maybe it's just only women are willing to call you out on it. Makes you think.
Moistly, moisten, moisture, moisty. Moisty's a good one.
Is moisty a word?
I don't think so. Houston says, same, Braden. A few women have said that too. I'm not making this up. This is not a gender. I am not a gendered person. Is that a thing? Can you be a gendered person? Can you be an ungendered person? I'm very progressive when it comes to the genders. We destroy gender roles in our household all the time. Yeah. My wife is not allowed to go grocery shopping.
How does she feel about the word moist?
Doesn't love it. Doesn't love it. But she will also call me out on anything. Like, it's not just that. That's the joy of 10 years of marriage. So Eagles, National Anthem, are you an Eagles fan? I take it. Eagles a bit there too. Moisture. Okay. All right. Let's move on. It is still a great place to go shopping, even if you are doing damp/slightly dry or mostly dry January, which is still a great place to go collect bourbon. If you're looking for rare bourbons, now's a great time. Prices have come down. So if you're looking to build the collection, go check it out. They have non-alcoholic beers better than it's ever been right now. Really interesting on how they make non-alcoholic beer, actually, by the way, too. Very fascinating science behind it. They have a huge selection of like athletic stuff and Non-alc beers, still delicious now, better than ever they've ever been before. Easier to drink good beer that's non-alcoholic. They have like super high-end mocktail stuff, all the different things you would need to make like really delicious high-end mocktails. What my wife and I like to do is make a mixture, as they say in Boston, a mixture of mocktail with a THC beverage. So it's not, is that a mocktail at that point? I don't know. It still has a nice calming effect on us, but it has no alcohol in it. You get a little flavor to it, a little THC, you mix it all in, you have a great time. Dry January, mostly.
And no hangover in the morning.
Oh my God. Oh my God. At my age, that is by far the best part of the entire thing. Like I sleep better. I'm refreshed every single morning. It's great. And then in February, we'll go back to drinking again. It'll be fine. So back when the Preds underlying analytics start to catch up to them is right around the time we'll all start drinking again.
We will have learned nothing from Dry January and gone right back to the good stuff.
Well, so Sinkers Beverages, search Uber Eats. You can have the booze delivered directly to your house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's an interesting way to start this conversation. I didn't plan on that, but I do kind of like that. Like, are we not learning anything in this conversation about the Preds? Like, there's a lot of positive things to talk about, and we will discuss that. 16-8 over their last 24 games since that really awful 6-12-2 start, I believe it was. They've been on a 16-8 hockey over 24 games is what we were saying they're going to have to do to make the playoffs, and they're sort of doing it. The underlying metrics don't say that that's sustainable in really any conceivable way. The goaltenders are stealing games. They're only beating mostly bad teams, although now they have yet another win over a playoff team, beating Edmonton. They are tied of those 24 games. I think they were tied going into the third period last night, right? 3-3 going into the third. They have trailed 18 times in this stretch going into the third period. That's not a sustainable metric. Their XG differential between actual goals scored is they're still scoring more than they should be. How am I supposed to look at this run of hockey, Emma? Like, what have I learned nothing, or is it okay to change my opinion now that we're seeing it over a 24 game stretch?
I mean, you're always entitled to your own opinion. You can always change it. I still am very much of the belief that if they make it into the playoffs this year, it's going to be by the skin of their teeth, and it's not entirely under their control. It has to do with, they have to do really, really well, and other teams around them have to do really, really poorly. And I think that that's more of a luck situation than anything else. So again, it's fun. It's entertaining. We talk about this all the time. It's good to watch winning hockey. We like that. But I don't think that we should change our opinion of the overall trajectory of the franchise right now. I don't think that this, decent stretch of hockey, whether sustainable or not, I don't think that it's, I don't think that it means anything more than what it is. It's just like, okay, well, this is fun for now. I know a lot of people who are in the tank for McKenna camp are going to be upset because every win means, farther away you get from maybe getting the number one pick. But again, if you're a fan, I beg of you to let that go. Let that idea go, because this team and the people who are on it, the people who built it and the people who are currently playing on it are not going to tank. They're not going to try to tank. So I understand the sentiment. I really do. But I think that you just want to just enjoy like what it is right now, because high picks also don't guarantee you anything. Just saying.
Nashville says the Islanders jumping us in the lottery was very disheartening. And I think that's ultimately kind of where I'm falling on this, is like, if you're telling me that the Predators are going to play mostly entertaining games, win or lose, which is what they're doing again, since we were last here,
entertaining and meaningful games.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, look, they only have 8 multi-goal wins on the whole season. Out of their 22 wins, only 8 of them have been by more than a goal. And 4 of them were St. Louis and Calgary, 4 of those 8. So they're not blowing anybody out. And every win they have, they are scrapping and clawing and battling. And so, like, in one side of that coin, that's a negative in that they are not good enough to blow people out. I think that's fair to say by looking at the roster. On the other hand, it means that they play really hard most nights. At least in this 24-game stretch, they've played very hard most nights. Last night was a very entertaining game. They were excellent on defense in the third period. They played well in the overtime period. Leon Draisaitl continues to dominate the Nashville Predators as he wants to do. Roman Josi, Steven Stamkos with huge goals to tie the game both in the first and the second period. Then Josi with the game winner in overtime from a brilliant play by Brady Shea, by the way, just a fun flip over the top. And then the right way to finish that play with the goalie way out of the net. And so they're not like you beat Washington by a goal. You go into a shootout, the Islanders is a goal. You beat the Calgary by a goal. You beat Utah by a goal. You beat Minnesota in overtime. Like this is how shootout was the Islanders. 2-1 win over New York. That's just in the Rangers. That's just in the last couple of weeks. So everything is super entertaining. And I think if they were guaranteed a spot, if they finish as the worst team and are guaranteed the top pick, and we know for sure that Gavin McKenna is a future star the way we see Macklin Celebrini is a star, I think I could be convinced to put up with an atrocious second half of the season. But if you're not guaranteed it, and you're probably not going to get all the way to the first pick anyway, wouldn't you rather, like, I know mushy middle is such a terrible place for people to think they are, but isn't a team that's above 500 that plays hard every night, where your stars are delivering highlight moments? Stamkos is sort of like working up the ranks of goal scorers all time. You had Ovechkin and Stamkos score in the same period, basically on the same play. Like, when are we ever going to see a 900 and 600 goal scorer in the same period? It's never happened before. I just word to the wise. So I'm coming around on like, first of all, it's way more fun to cover, and I know that's partly why I'm shaded by this, but like I'm done with the tanking thing. Like, get a top 10 pick, maybe. Fight your butt off. Don't buy pieces. That's the other thing, is don't let this convince you that they can contend. And as long as that doesn't happen, like, enjoy a team that plays hard and wins games. Like,
yeah. I keep coming back to did we learn nothing from last year? I mean, I think most fans would be begging for the mushy middle after experiencing last year. It's like, oh, we would love to be back in the middle and not at the bottom. But I think, when it comes to, I think that a lot of times people look at this as very black and white. It's very all or nothing. It's like, well, if you're not going to be a playoff team, then tank to the bottom. And it's like, well, okay, two things can be true. You can be playing well, you can be playing good, meaningful hockey, not be a playoff team, because let's be honest, it really doesn't matter. This is not their year to go to the playoffs anyway. Everyone knows they're not beating Colorado or whoever in the first round. So playoffs is a separate conversation, I think.
Who was sorry to interrupt. Who was the team that was like was it Boston that set the record for points in a season a couple years ago? Like 3 years ago?
Yes.
And then they get beat in the first round of the playoffs?
Yes, but still, I'm just saying. I think my point is that playoffs should be a separate conversation. I think that you can still be playing good, meaningful hockey. I think that, and we've talked about this before, and I was actually on the radio in Edmonton yesterday talking about this, that we were worried, like a lot of fans are worried about, oh, if the team's doing well, then Barry's not going to sell and he's going to try to go for it in the playoffs. And I think the kind of important nuance that people miss is, because I've been saying this for a while, as you know, I don't think that he's going to sell off everyone with a expiring contract. I still believe that. But not selling is not the same thing as buying. So I could see him not selling. But as long as he doesn't buy at the deadline, and I don't think he will. I mean, I genuinely don't believe that he will. I think it's like, this year in the entire league is so interesting right now, because everyone, save for like one or two teams, is still in the playoff race. And by in it, I mean like within a couple of points. Yeah. The entire Eastern Conference is within 2 points of a playoff spot right now. It's insane. And in the West, it's also very close. And so you're starting to see the gaps kind of narrow a little bit in terms of contention. And so in a year like that, and yes, it's a weird year. You've got the Olympics, you've got, everything going on. That's what's making the schedule so different. And it's what's making this, the division races so interesting. I think with that in mind, then it's like, enjoy it. Let the system work for you here, because right now the weird schedule is kind of creating this more narrow gap. So enjoy it, ride it out. You don't have to make, like, I don't see Barry Trotz making any franchise altering decisions this year when it comes to the trade deadline. I don't think that he may not sell away all of the remaining 1-year deals, but I don't think he's going to go out and make a big play and get like Artemi Panarin. Like I think that people look at those two things as the same thing, and they're not.
It's all or nothing. I have a lot of questions and responses that have kind of hit me through that answer of yours. And I want to get to a bunch of the comments here because you guys have got some stuff in there I want to get to as well. Number one, this one might be quicker. Do you think the Olympics creating a second trade deadline, how does that change the dynamics and the decision-making process for Barry Trotz? Because I think and this ties into your point about like it's a weird year. Nashville's 1 point out of the playoffs right now. The Blues are at 44 points. That means they are 5 points out of the playoff. They are also 5 points out of being the worst team in the Western Conference. You mentioned the Eastern Conference. So like everybody's either barely in or barely out. And so that means that no one's making decisions on what they're going to be until probably after the Olympic break. But I have been told that a lot of general managers are viewing this as a miniature trade deadline. Like there's 2 trade deadlines this year. So I just am curious, the fact that we have so many teams involved on the plus side of the playoff line and the negative side, and then a break coming up in a couple of weeks. What are your thoughts on how that all like works together to create an environment, frankly, that makes decision making harder? I feel like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that my answer to that would just be dependent on how tight the division races are, and right now they're really tight. And so I think that unless you're like, and it's crazy to say this after last year, but unless you're a team like the Winnipeg Jets, I don't think you're looking to be like, okay, this is who we are. We are sellers. We are, this is just who we are at this mini deadline. Everyone else, they're within spitting distance of a playoff spot, so they're not going to rock the boat. They're not going to do anything. And it's a lot of just kind of waiting for that first domino to fall. And I don't really see that happening at this mini deadline. I mean, like, again, all of this season has been weird. Look at when Quinn Hughes was traded, like back in December. That was insane. Like to have a trade of that magnitude that early in the season. I mean, I think that's kind of how you're seeing that nothing is normal this year. It's almost like it's like being back in the COVID year. It's like we can't look at this year based on how we've looked at other seasons because the circumstances are so different. Cap is going up. New CBA kicks in next year. So this is your last chance to sign guys to 8-year deals or instead of 7-year deals and just little details like that. So I think everyone is kind of, all just like glancing around the room at each other. It's like, okay, so what are we going to do? I think, if we're talking about big like movers at the deadline, again, Winnipeg, I think could be a seller. I think Minnesota has made it very clear that they're buyers. Now they don't have a lot of cap space to do that now, but again, I think that they are going to be looking to make another big move after adding Hughes. So there are really only a couple of teams who you can look at with any kind of certainty and think, okay, this is what they're going to do. And so the Predators being in that mushy middle right now is not unique to them. And I think a lot of Predators fans hear the middle, no, we don't like that. But it's like, that's just kind of where everyone is right now until, more clarity starts to come.
Well, and the other thing that hits me is, and I agree with most of that. I think the other thing that hits me is if you start talking about the dynamics around an O'Reilly trade, meaning the general manager has to decide like the value of keeping Ryan O'Reilly and the value he presents to your roster, not just in a in what is now, I think you have to call it a full-on chase for the playoffs at this point, at least for now, as long as they can keep their heads above water. Again, the metrics tell you it's not going to happen. So for those concerned, like I am not concerned about Barry Trotz buying things, because I think they see the metrics too. They know what's happening. They're not like, I know athletes and coaches and GMs all think they can just like, oh, we can solve our way out of it. We can work our way out of it. We can play our way out of it. We can beat anybody. I know that everyone kind of has to think that way, but they see the metrics that Onanen and UC Saros have stolen like 10 of their 22 wins, and that like 7 of those have happened in this stretch, that they are trailing going to the third period most of the time, that they are scoring less than they're scoring more than they're supposed to be, like all these things, right? They know all this stuff too. And so if it falls apart, it falls apart. And the fact that there are 2 deadlines might actually help them, because they might keep stuff at this first deadline-ish thing, and then by the time it rolls around in March, maybe they're already out of it and the decision's made. Based on the metrics, that's what's going to happen. But the value of Ryan O'Reilly being in critical moments in meaningful games against good teams and showing players, like, I think it's overrated to say that an athlete needs to teach another athlete how to do things. I don't think that's how this works. Like, I'm a Packers fan. Brett Favre famously did not do anything to help Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers didn't do anything specifically to help Jordan Love. But if you are a smart young player, you're watching what the great players do all the time. You're taking it all in and you're learning. You and I have talked about Evangelista after practice with O'Reilly, every time we do the show. What I'm curious about now is more on a team level. And I think somebody in the comments said this, that if they kind of just trade, I think this is Brad, he says, trade who they need to trade and they won't get into the playoffs. I think that's also kind of fair. But the value of playing meaningful games, where for weeks and weeks and weeks, you have to get up every day and battle because you think you have a chance to make it. There has to be, I'm not trying to be naive, and I'm not trying to be like romantic about hockey in the playoffs here, but there has to be value for young players in playing in games like that over an extended period of time. So we'll get to the decisions Trotz has to make at the deadline in just a second, because I want to take some comments here. But am I wrong to say that and to think if they're playing games all the way through March that are meaningful, that they're fighting for a playoff spot, how does that not benefit Nick Blankenburg? And if Ozzy Weisbach is back, if Fedor Svechkov is up here, if Matthew Wood is up here, if Luke Evangelista continues to develop, like, isn't that beneficial to be in those moments? You can still trade away Eric Haula. It's fine.
Yes. But I do think I agree with you here, but I also think that this is another one of those situations where it's not all black and white. I think, yes, there is a ton of value in getting to be in an environment like that and play in games like that. However, the counter argument that a lot of people are making is also true, which is that the just raw talent that the Predators have in their pipeline is not the same as, the raw talent in like a Chicago or a San Jose. I'm not saying right now, but the talent that's coming for those teams, because they've been rebuilding. Right. They have been at the bottom for a while. They've had these top 5 picks consistently over the last few years. And so, yes, the Predators need more raw talent. Talent doesn't fix everything, and that is where the piece that you just said comes in. I think it's important to be, in those situations, but that experience alone of playing meaningful hockey, that alone, I mean, you and I can experience that, and that doesn't make us, more skilled. It might make us more well-rounded, but it doesn't, I just don't think that it can be boiled down to one or the other. I think you need both. And this is where, you can talk about the Predators drafting and their scouting. And okay, if they are going to pick somewhere in the middle of the first round again, well, how can they get better at identifying that talent? And that's, a question I really don't have the answer to right now. But I think that that's kind of, sometimes the answer's there. It doesn't need to be as clear cut as, well, they got to pick in the top 3. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a waste. It's useless. Well, that's not true. You can find gems in every single round of the draft. And the Predators, for the most part, have not when it comes to forwards, especially. So that's where I think that you might want to look. It's less about what the team is doing now and more about how the scouting staff can maybe pivot or evaluate young talent.
Let's get. I agree with all of that. Let's get to some of these comments, which is going to tie into what we're talking about. Of course, Nash Lana says, "Are they scoring more than they should, or are they finally, or are they starting to finally click?" Is the question. There is no metric that says that this is sustainable, but you can deny analytics if you want to, but that is not what the underlying metrics tell you. When goaltenders are stealing more than half of the wins that you have in the last 25 games, when your XG is much lower than your actual goals for, these are just kind of things that are reality. You can deny it if you want to. I'm not trying to be rude, Nash Lana. Let's see here. Josh has a couple of spots here or there in the draft order aren't nearly as important as how Trotz manages assets going into the deadline. I tend to agree with that. And the key is, like, this could be one of those years where you kind of get a little bit of everything, which is you get some good games and you get some battles and you get a stretch where you're fighting for a playoff spot. And also you don't make it. And also you trade some pieces at the deadline. And also you get some young players, some experience in key games. And also you have like the number 12 pick instead of the number 18 pick. Like, you could have all of it right now. And I know that's not what like the diehards who want McKenna are saying. And I understand that. But in some degree, like, you could kind of, I think the Trotz management is way more important than picking 7th versus 11th or whatever. No comment.
I agree. You said, well said.
Let's see here. If they are one of the few teams willing to trade, they get a better return. I'm not sure what he's referring to. Brad says there. D Bear 22. Preds need high-end talent, full stop. You get those in the top 5. You get Tomasino and Tolvanen, although Tolvanen I think was picked 30th. You get Tomasino and Tolvanen in the 14 to 17 range, and we've seen how trying to build around those types of guys go. One more to follow this up here. Houston says, the scary part is the Preds full of 15 to 20th overall picks going up against the Sharks and Hawks with 1 to 10 overall picks. The decade is going to hurt. I don't know why you can say, I don't know how you assume that. I mean, Macklin Celebrini is really good.
Again, but that's where I come back to what I was saying about, you get Tolvanen or maybe not Tolvanen, you get Tomasino in the middle of the round and you see how that works out. Okay, no, not you get, it's the Preds get. Historically, the Preds have picked those kinds of players. So the issue is not with where they finish in the order. The issue is how can they be better at identifying talent? It's still a problem, don't get me wrong. But again, I mean, you look at teams like Dallas, they don't have a bunch of number 1 picks on their team. I mean,
well, they got a couple.
Well, but again, okay, maybe this year's not the best example, but in the past few years, they've had some really solid teams, and they weren't picking at the top of the draft order for a while. So I just, my point is that
Heiskanen was top 5, I think, right? Heiskanen was top
that's
5?
what I said before.
And like, do you count Rantanen? I don't know if you do.
No,
because they traded for him. So
right, but my point being that not every team, like, I mean, I don't know.
I think Jamie Benn was a high pick, but he was not. Like, he's
look at Florida. Look at Florida. I mean, they haven't drafted anybody. So again, there's other ways to do it, and the Predators have not found those ways. And so I think that if you're looking at getting out of the mushy middle, I think the focus needs to be turning away from where the current team finishes in the standings and toward what's going on behind the scenes in the Predators front office with their scouting staff. Do they need more of an overhaul there? I think that's a question, a conversation I might be more willing to entertain if you are on, Team Tank.
I don't know. Let's have an interesting conversation here about Florida. Do you know how many players on their roster currently were picked in the top 6 of the draft or top 4 of the draft?
I don't know, but they weren't picked by Florida. That's the point.
So 6 of them, they have 6 players, 6 top 6 picks on their team. which is way more than I would have guessed, but that's fine. Ekblad, of course, was 1.1 for Florida. Barkov, the captain, was 1.2 for Florida. So that's two pretty big ones right there. And they were back-to-back picks, hence the tanking, right? Back-to-back picks. Certainly, you have Matthew Tkachuk, the 6th overall pick. You have this is going to get real fun for Preds fans in a second. Sam Bennett was drafted by Calgary as the 4th overall pick. Sam Reinhart was the 2nd overall pick by Buffalo. And, of course, yours truly, Seth Jones, drafted number 4 overall by the Nashville Predators. I don't think the Florida example, like I get what you're saying. On a technicality, they didn't draft a lot of those guys. Now, they did draft Antoine Lundell, which is the 12th overall pick, and they drafted Kulikov, who's the 14th overall pick. So they do have, there's plenty of first-round talent on the roster that got you to a championship. So you can't say, oh, they don't have the less, like a less talented team. They kind of did it with like late draft picks. No, they've done it with top flight draft picks.
No, they
just
have
didn't draft all of them.
They have, but I also think that's kind of worth pointing out too, is like they didn't do it with Phil Tomasino. They did it with Anton Lundell. You know, it's their ability to evaluate talent when they get to that point in the draft, in the order, where I think that, again, yes, you need top flight talent. And I said that at the top. I said that the Predators don't have the raw talent that these other teams do. So getting that winning experience or that meaningful hockey experience, yes, it's valuable, but you still need the raw talent piece to pair with that. And they still don't have that. And again, you get raw talent. I mean, yes, obviously you get raw talent in the top 3 of the draft order. Yes. But since you are not guaranteed a top 3 pick at this point, then stop worrying about what the team is doing right now and start looking at, how are they going to evaluate future talent? Yeah. Because you're never going to be guaranteed that, level of talent in, the top pick, the top 2. I mean, anything like that.
So I think Dallas has always been the one that's held up as the example of what you're talking about. And I tend to agree. Of their best, let's call them like their best players. I don't know, their top 10 players. I don't know who you'd put. I don't know who would, I don't know who makes the cut or doesn't, right? Like I know Mikko Rantanen makes the cut. I got that. But Wyatt Johnston was 23rd overall. Thomas Harley was 18th overall. Niles Lundqvist was 28th overall. Let's see here. I'm trying to figure out. Rantanen was actually the 10th pick. I thought he was much higher than that. Both Seguin and Duchesne were top 3 picks, but they were for other teams. Foxo was 13th overall. Jason Robertson was 39th in the 2nd round, which is the one that's held up. Rope Hintz was the 49th overall pick. How many of those names are in their top 10 players? Outside of Duchesne and Seguin, like a good chunk of them, right? I mean, Heiskanen was the number 3 overall pick. Ottinger was a 26th overall pick.
Well, but goalies are different.
Yeah, I know. I hear you on that. But I mean, am I naming a bunch of top 10 players mostly or around thereabouts for Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, I think Dallas is the true example when you say, Bork was a 1st-round pick, 30th overall.
I said this earlier. I used Dallas as an example, and you said no.
No, I didn't say no. I went to well, if I did that, I didn't mean to. Dallas is the one that I think has long been held up as the example of. Now, the other side of that equation is that Dallas has yet to do anything with it.
Well, they've made it further than the Predators have in recent years. I think that, I don't know, Preds fans would love to lose in the Western Conference Final
3 years in a row.
Vegas. Yeah.
Or no, they made it to the Cup Final once, didn't they? For sure. So.
Yeah.
So Josh says, Sinkers Beverages, everybody, please go there. Unless they move some of the UFAs, there are only a couple of young guys there to learn from O'Reilly or a playoff push from Josh. You should keep O'Reilly from Logan unless you have a replacement like Haig or one of the centers up front from the last draft. It's not beneficial. It's not beneficial if they can't make the playoff until all their players are UFA. I'm not sure I followed that last one. Let's see here. This is from P. Houston. I think it would help more to the youth if they were up. Bring up Molendijk, Ufko, O'Hara, and Zach LaRue. So I do think there's plenty of that needs to happen. For this to be valuable, there needs to be more young talent. And so this is the way I would look at Barry Trotz's job during either the Olympic deadline or the actual trade deadline. Haula and Bunting have to be traded. And then probably one of the veterans, preferably one with a no movement clause. I think if Stamkos is driving up his value, which is fun for fans and good for the team and helping the team win. Jonathan Marchessault is the one that everybody wants, though. And I think the one that would probably want out if given the opportunity to go compete for a championship somewhere. If you can get rid of one of the no movements and both Haula and Bunting, which should not be hard, I'm kind of okay with everything else. I think everything, keep McCarron, keep Cole Smith, keep Ryan O'Reilly. That's fine. It's fine. And then call up some players because Haula's going to get a return because he's a center. Bunting scores goals in dirty areas. That's what every Stanley Cup playoff team wants. And I think Marchessault brings that. He brings his team into a fight. And I think that's what you want in the playoffs. So I think if you can get rid of those three guys, I kind of think you've done a great job. And then see what happens with the youth. See if you can make a playoff run.
Yeah. That's where I'm kind of at, is like meet in the middle on this. Like meet in the middle with it. I think that you can trade, like you said, the non-negotiables should be Haula and Bunting. You got to trade those guys because you're not keeping them. And I mean, you're not keeping them beyond this year, or you shouldn't. And if you keep McCarron and Smith, I'm okay with it. And again, I think Stamkos is not going anywhere. I think Shea is not going anywhere. I think Marchessault technically is not going anywhere, but he's the one that I would be okay with moving because I don't think it was a fit.
I tend to agree with all of that. Nash Landa says, I'm not offended. LOL, I was talking about him earlier. I just think they look more cohesive lately, not cup contenders or anything, but trending better. Certainly. No question about that. They are playing the system a little bit better. They're playing faster. There's no question. They still look old and slow most times, but the system is better. All right, let's see here. Daniel Perry Fishing says, I know how this goes against everything you're saying, but how much better would the Preds be with Elias Pettersson? Is he just a salary dump, or would assets have to go the other way? Emma, take it away.
Elias Pettersson, a salary dump? From Vancouver?
I think that's what he's referring to. Houston says, I'd take Pettersson, but Vancouver would have to retain some salary.
But they're not looking to dump him. He's been like he's actually been good for them this year. He's
Didn't
like
he lead to the Miller being traded? Didn't he lead to?
Yeah, that was last year.
They picked him, is what I'm saying. Like they were like, no, we're keeping this one.
Well, you kind of have to pick the guy that you're paying $11 million a year. But the point is, after that, like this year, he's actually been good for them. I don't understand where that is coming from. And also, even if he were on the trade block, dear God, no, that would be a horrible fit because he has tended to turtle under pressure to be the guy, to which I say, well, then maybe don't accept the $11 million contract if you don't want to be the guy. But if he came to Nashville, he would be the guy. And that would be a horrible situation for him to be in. I don't see him doing well in Brunette's system. I don't know. I think that's
they're not in the let's go get the one big piece like the Rantanen deal.
They're not one piece away.
Dallas looked at this and they said, we're probably one superstar away from winning a cup. Let's go try this. Let's put all the chips on the table. Let's go get Rantanen and let's try. And I think it's working. They're a really good team and they've been a really good team.
But that was the right move for Dallas to make at that time.
Exactly. And a lot of you in the comments are kind of saying the same thing. Like obviously the statistical probability of building a better roster happens higher in the draft. No one's arguing that. That's not necessarily any of the argument at all. So it's clearly you have a better shot of building a very talented roster if you're picking in the top 5 every year. Like that's how drafts work in sports. How about this one? Trade Shea for Dougie Hamilton.
No. God, I hate that. Someone put that on Twitter the other day. I would just love to know what you're smoking if you're thinking that Dougie Hamilton would be a better fit for this team than Brady Shea. I'm not defending Brady Shea, saying that he is, although I do think that Brady Shea is better than a lot of people give him credit for. If you watched him in overtime last night, my God, very good. But the point, I'm not saying he's been great this whole time. But I saw someone bring that up about Dougie Hamilton, and I just, first, there are a lot of reasons that wouldn't work. Not the least of which is the fact that if New Jersey was going to trade Dougie Hamilton, it would be to create cap space. Getting Shea just gives you, that does not help with that at all. Yeah. I think Hamilton's only under contract for 2 more years versus Shea's like 6 or whatever. So I think that I understand the appeal there from Predators fans is like, oh, we're not locked into this really long contract. But Dougie Hamilton is not good defensively. He's not. He's an offensive defenseman, and he's made of glass. He gets injured all the time, and that would not be a fit. I mean, say what you want about Brady Shea, and I know people have, but the guy has been durable, and he's been consistent, and he's been in the lineup.
Look, guys, the defense is almost set in-house at this point. Shea's under contract for like 100 years.
Yeah.
Haig is under contract for 3 more years at $5.5 million. Ain't nobody taking that contract. Even if you're just going to have to hope he lives up to it as a low second pairing defenseman, high third pairing defenseman. Perbix, that he could be moved or re-signed. Don't know what's going to happen there. You have a bunch of guys that you're going to try out in Molendyke and Upco, et cetera, down on the farm. You still have Barron, at least for the rest of this year, and now he's back in the starting lineup apparently. Blankenberg and Wilsby are what they are. They're kind of like your emergency break glass in case of emergency players. So like they going to get a defenseman is not what they need to do. Like Quinn Hughes sounds great if you're trading Roman Josi for Quinn Hughes. You need someone to take over the Josi role, then you need to trade Roman Josi. And by the way, I'm open to that. I'm open to trading Roman Josi. If you trade away Bunting and Hall and you're not going to make the playoffs, I don't want to do it, but he would bring you something in return, and he's tearing it up right now. My point is that I think if you're going to get pieces and somebody like look for the opportunity like the Marco Rossi thing, right? You're looking for an opportunity to take someone who can't make it work somewhere else. I think that's a forward, not a defenseman, if that makes sense.
Like,
absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if this is Mouse or Moose 24. Marchessault has dropped so much since winning the Conn Smythe. His contract also looks pretty bad now. That is not what anyone in the NHL is saying. I'm not trying to be rude here, but everyone in the NHL, general managers, are all saying we love his style of game and we love his contract. That's what everybody outside of the Nashville Predators is saying about Jonathan Marchessault, just for the record.
It's true. I mean, he is the perfect kind of, again, there is the no move clause of it all, so that would have to be addressed, but he is the very much like Bunting in the sense that his style of play would play so well in the playoffs. We've seen it play really well in the playoffs, not in Nashville, but he is built for playoff hockey. Yeah. And unfortunately, the way things have been going in Nashville, he may not get to experience that here. Yeah. So I think that if there is an opportunity for him to go somewhere else, and it is a team that's like, if it's like a Florida or a Dallas, or I don't know, like a team that we know is going to be a perennial contender here, yeah, then that's something I could see happening. Teams, I can confirm, teams do love him.
Oh, they do. And I talked to some folks. I said this on the subscriber pod. I'll put it out here. A lot of this stuff, I talked to some folks on the national level about this, just try to get a feel for what would actually be viable. And everyone agrees Marchessault is the top trade chip of the kind of the contracts. And I was told that basically the Preds would have to retain $3 million of Stamkos' salary for there to be some kind of movement there. That's, they have 1.4, I believe, retained on Sissons this year. That's one of their 3 slots. That goes away at the end of the season. So then they have none of their retention slots have been used from here on out. So it's very conceivable that you could eat $3 million of Stamkos' salary over the next 2 seasons and save yourself $10 million total on the cap and get something in return for him. So like, is he going to want to do that? We don't know. He's got the control, obviously, but I think he's viewed as less of an asset than Marchessault is, which is crazy because Stamkos has 20 goals and Marchessault's not even playing. But the NHL people want Marchessault more than Stamkos. I think you have to make the contract more palatable, which puts it right in the range of Marchessault. If you eat $3 million, that's $5 million. That's Marchessault's at $5.5 million. That's basically the same kind of contract. So I think that's what I was told is they would have to eat at least $3 million to get a deal done for Stamkos.
At least, if not retain half, and everyone knows they're not retaining half. But I think
3.9 they'll retain.
Yeah. No, I agree. Though I think that Marchessault's contract looks great when you consider everything he's done in the playoffs in the past, and you look at the cap going up. I mean, 5.5 for a guy who can do that. I mean, I would trade for that.
Here's the other thing. Trade Holla, trade Bunting, trade some pieces, call up some young players, and I'm willing to bet you that makes asking Marchessault to waive his no trade clause a little bit easier. When he looks at the roster around him and he goes, "This is what we're going to try to do the rest of the year."
Yeah, totally.
Let me out of here. He's a feisty dude. He as I said, he pulls his teams into postseason battles. And you need to have guys like that on your team in the postseason. You need that grit, fecal agitators, as Terry Crisp has always told me. So you got to have those guys. That is for sure. Sinkers Beverages, everybody, please go support good local businesses. In 2026, we need local businesses need support more than ever. If you've got one of the best messages for people in our community is if you can continue to shop at your local businesses in 2026 and you can afford to do it, please do it. Please do it. It matters to local businesses this year. So Sinkers Beverages, 5-time liquor store of the year. They have all kinds of options if you're doing dry January. And if you're not, well, it's a liquor store. They got you covered elsewise. So just go check them out. Great wine selection, great knowledgeable staff. These are folks that are like constantly trying to educate people on like the science of alcohol, which I find to be really interesting. Tequila selection. If you're a searcher and you like trying to find really, obscure and delicious tequilas, they got that. Bourbon prices are coming down. So they've got a great selection of bourbon. They got an award-winning beer fridge as well. And they do a bunch of stuff for the community. They've been putting on our NFL draft party with me in 440, donating all of it to charity for a long time. And so we're going to do that again. They're just a great piece of the community, so go support Sinkers Beverages. Do you like the Oilers sweaters last night?
I actually do. I
love them. I love them.
Yeah, normally I don't like when they try to get too cute with the designs, but I like those. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think they were undefeated in those jerseys until last night.
Ooh.
I think I read something about that. So
Stanley Cup ? For the Predators?
Still no regulation losses for the Oilers in those jerseys, but
good point. I like it when teams go, and I like this with like the Rams have done this with their uniforms. A lot of baseball teams have done this. The Giants have kind of always had them this way. I like the ones that are not white; they look dirty.
Yeah, they're like a cream, almost like ivory.
It's like they look like they were supposed to be in a black and white film from the 40s.
Yeah,
and it's like I really like those.
Yeah, like old timey. Yeah.
Yes. Like if you took I wonder which one would work for the Predators. Like I don't think you could do. So one of my favorite Predators jerseys is the Dixie Flyers throwback, which I think is the one they wore against Dallas in the New Year's Day Stadium Series when Ellis got hurt and
that was the white ones.
Yeah, with the stripe.
Yeah, that was Dallas. That was a Cotton Bowl. Yeah,
that is my favorite uniform the Predators have ever worn. I don't know if that one works with cream, because it's kind of already like a retro vintage thing.
But the problem is the yellow gold does not work with cream.
No, this is what I was going to say. The one that people love, which is that dark navy blue with like the old school saber-tooth tiger one. If you made that with the cream and it kind of like went dirty and old school and vintage, I think it would look really good. Yeah. I think it would look really good.
True.
I love like, I don't know what I love. I love the Rams uniforms. I don't know. First of all, it's probably because I hate the effing Bears and we're rooting for we are now diehard Rams fans in our family. My girls know that on Sunday night we're rooting for the Rams, our Rams, on Sunday night.
Big fan.
Yes, isn't there an Admirals jersey that has that when they do the red one, it has the cream on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Good call, Brad. That's exactly right. I really enjoy the ones that look vintage and retro. So maybe it's because I'm old now.
You are vintage and retro.
I'm going to tell that to hey, honey, you know that I'm vintage now?
Yeah.
All right. What else you got this week coming up for everybody? What are you looking forward to with the schedule, with the team? Roman Josi's having an outstanding stretch here. We didn't even talk about Jos. So
he is. No, I love to see him doing well, because I think when he does well, I mean, it's no surprise that when he does well, the team does better. So excited for that. I'm not sure how Friday's going to go against Colorado on the road, but we'll see. We'll just see what happens. But yeah, I think that, a lot of the attention lately has been on Stamkos, and rightly so, because he's been, really coming into his own here this last stretch of games. But I think Josi being back in the lineup has had more of an impact than people have given him credit for. And actually, Stamkos was the one who said it on Sunday after the Capitals game. We asked him about Josi, and he said, well, he's not a guy whose success you really measure in points. Like, you don't really measure his value in points, but it does make it a little bit more visible now that he is, he does have 3 goals and 5 points in the last 2 games. And now people are starting to notice what he does. And so I like to see that.
He has to be a driver of offense. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you get the points or the goals, to your point, but you got to drive offense. You need to be bringing the puck into the zone. You need to be put the pedal down and force the play on offense. And when he does that is when he was at his best winning the Norris Trophy, he could take over a game because he was pressing, not because he was a very good defensive player, always his whole career. But the thing that set him apart when he had that enormous season where he scored a bunch of points and he, Norris Trophy kind of deal, like he was pushing the pace and the tempo, bringing the puck into the zone, taking it beneath the goal line. Like the number of times I'd see him dive underneath the goal and create a play, it doesn't seem like he's been doing that a lot in the last 2 years. Injury is a huge part of that. But seeing him kind of round back into form, and it's, like, again, here's the other thing, and this is maybe not fair. I do think Josi gets a pass from the fans because of his past and because of where he sits in the Predators fans' sort of love affair of the team. I think when he's not producing, he kind of gets a pass, and I don't think that's right. I think when you are that high of a paid player, Forsberg too, the amount of heat Saros takes relative to Roman Josi is not even close to fair.
Yeah.
So I think you can ask for more from Roman Josi. I think that's okay, and I think you're starting to see some of it now. I think so. I don't think that's not crazy, right? Do you think he gets a pass to some degree?
I think he does. I do.
He's a nice guy, and
he's the captain. Everybody loves Roman, and you should love him. He's a great guy and he's a great player. But I agree. I think that he's a guy, again, comparing that to Juuse Saros, who's like very quiet, very reserved, and people don't want to give him a pass as often as they do with Roman or Forsberg, for that matter. So it's good to see Roman rounding back into form, like you said.
Eric with a comment to end the show here. You cannot convince me not to blow the team up. We are arguably the slowest team in the entire league. There's no future for this style. We are slowly turning into traffic cones for faster teams. Factually, not a lot wrong with that comment. I think we know that if Andrew Burnett, and I've kind of come around on also, by the way, Emma, Andrew Burnett just kind of like, if they're going to be bad for a few years, like who cares if Andrew Burnett's the coach?
Yeah.
I'm kind of just coming around like, if we're in this new era after they made the playoffs for 8 straight years, and we're in this new era where they're going to miss the playoffs like 5 out of 6 years or something, it almost is irrelevant who the coach is, because teams that do that always change coaches at the end of it, right? Yeah. They draft the players, they build the roster, they suck for a few years, and then they change coaches.
Yeah.
So I don't think anything Eric said in that comment is like totally out of line, but I think
they are slow. They are old. but I think it's about it is about how you frame it. And like you said, last year, I think the narrative was very much fire the coach, because look at all these shiny new players we just got, and the coach can't get anything out of them. Now we're kind of at this point where it's like, okay, we are who we are right now. This is not a cup contender by any means. These shiny new players are not shiny and new anymore, and they're not going to be around forever. So that's kind of where it's like, if you shift your focus and how you see this, and it's like, okay, we are rebuilding or building, whatever Barry wants to say, then yeah, keep Brunette. Honestly, he's probably going to be better than anything else you could get, because you're not getting a tenured coach in the NHL. Like, you're not getting a Pete DeBoer or anyone who would come in to take over a rebuilding team. Those kinds of guys only come in when you were knocking on the door, and this team is not knocking on the door. So that's when you get guys like Andrew Brunette. I mean, where Andrew Brunette was a couple years ago, you get guys like Dan Muse, guys who have not had head coaching experience. Those are the kinds of guys you get. So right. I'm kind of with you. Keep Andrew Brunette for now. I don't think it's making a difference.
The only part of that comment that Eric says that that I don't know if I agree with is there is no future for this style. I think the whole point of talking about Brunette in all of this is Brunette still the right guy for the next wave of talent? And when they bring up these guys, are they going to be young, fast players that fit well in that system? Now, if the future is Matthew Wood and Luke Evangelista, not exactly the fleetest and fastest skaters of all their prospects. So if you are going that direction, you're going to need to develop and draft a bunch of speedy guys, if that's the key. Otherwise, if you're going to fire Andrew Brunette in 3 years when all of this is finally changed over and they've built the new roster and all the veterans are gone and Josi's retired and like they're on to their competitive phase after the rebuild, it almost doesn't matter. It almost doesn't matter what style they're playing. So, all right. Thanks to all of you guys in the comments. You guys are awesome. You guys are great. Check out Lower Broad Hockey. Support good local business, places like Sinkers Beverages, people like Emma, and companies like 440 at ours. We do appreciate you guys. Lots of Titans coaching search news out there. Lots of national championship coverage on the SEC football product. All of that, of course, on the 440 Sports YouTube page and anywhere you get your podcasts. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great weekend, Emma. Good to see you as usual. Otherwise, we'll talk to you next week. Enjoy it. Go Rams.